They tell you that being chosen is an honor. They whisper that to be selected is the highest fate any human could ever dream of, a calling so rare that most would die 1,000 deaths for the chance. But those whispers never speak the full truth. They don't tell you about the pain, the fear, the tearing away of everything you were before. To be recruited into the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines of the Imperium, is not simply to be chosen. It is to be broken, rebuilt, and reforged into something that scarcely resembles a man anymore. It begins long before you see the fortress monastery, long before you even hear the chanting of chaplains or glimpse the gene seed chambers. It begins in the dust, in the squalor of your home world. For most recruits, that home is no glittering hive spire or civilized city. No, the Imperium prefers its candidates raw, hard, sharpened by the cruelty of survival. You might be a feral world tribesman, hardened by blood hunts and ritual duels. You might be a hive ganger, muscles wiry from starvation, hands calloused from violence. You might even be some half-wild nomad scraping a living in toxic wastelands where most men wouldn't last a day. That's where they find you, where you're nothing, where you're still human. You don't volunteer. That's the first lie. Recruitment isn't about a man stepping forward and saying, "I wish to be a space marine." It's about being taken. It's about the black ships or the chapter's recruitment serfs descending like vultures. Sometimes it's a test of strength. The strongest boys forced to fight each other until only one remains breathing. Sometimes it's a lottery, though the lottery is rigged to choose the fiercest. And sometimes it's just a sweep. Whole villages lined up, and those who can't endure the chaplain's gaze are cast aside as weak, never to see their homes again. When they take you, you're still only a boy, though you might think yourself grown. 14, maybe 15, sometimes younger. Old enough to have seen death, young enough to be molded. You leave behind your family if you had one. You don't get to say goodbye. That part of you is erased the moment the chapter brands you as theirs. The journey begins with fear. You're herded into a thunderhawk or a lander, taken away from the only soil you've ever known. For many recruits, it's the first time leaving their world. For some, it's the first time seeing the stars. And then the monastery looms, a fortress carved into mountains, or built upon ancient ruins, or even orbiting silently in the void. It's not welcoming. It's not a home. It's a crucible, and it waits for you the way a forge waits for raw iron. Your first days are not training, not yet. They're tests. The apothecaries and the chaplains measure you, probe you, watch you. They weigh not just your body, but your spirit. Because becoming a space marine is not only about muscle. It's about faith, obedience, and the will to endure torment without breaking. Some fail here before a scalpel ever touches their skin. They cry for their mothers, or they resist, or they collapse under the chaplain's stare. They are discarded, sometimes quietly, sometimes publicly, depending on the chapter's ways. The lucky ones are returned to their people. The unlucky, well, the emperor requires sacrifices, and some chapters are far less merciful. If you endure those first trials, then comes the real beginning. The indoctrination. They strip you down, not just your clothes but your name, your past, your identity. Who you were no longer matters. The chapter remakes you in its own image. You learn the catechisms of the emperor, the hymns of loyalty, the prayers that must be spoken before battle, before rest, before anything at all. You learn to march in time with brothers who are as lost and frightened as you, though none will admit it aloud. You learn to fight not just as yourself but as part of something greater, even if your body still betrays you with clumsy weakness. The instructors are merciless. Drill sergeants, chaplains, even full-blooded Astartes sometimes descend to watch. They treat you not as a boy but as raw material. A strike across the jaw if you falter, a lash across the back if you hesitate, and sometimes worse. You are told again and again you are nothing. You are less than nothing. Only through the chapter will you gain worth. Only through the emperor will you gain life. But the true crucible has not even started yet. That comes with the surgeries, the gene seed, the implants, the slow erasure of the boy and the crafting of the warrior. You do not yet understand what that means, not when you first step into the cold chambers where the apothecaries wait. All you know is fear. You've heard whispers about organs grafted into your flesh, about things that will grow inside you that were never meant for any natural man, about the pain that comes after. Some say it drives boys mad. Others say it kills them outright. You do not know which fate is worse. And yet, there is no turning back. You are in the hands of the chapter now. And to them, your body is clay. Your mind is a battlefield. Your soul belongs to the Emperor. That is what it's like in the beginning to be recruited into the Space Marines. It's not a choice. It's not a gift. It's the start of a long descent into fire and steel, a journey that only a fraction will survive. Those who endure will never again be human in the way they once were. And those who fail, they are forgotten, their names never spoken again. The first cut of the apothecary's blade is not the worst. You might think it is, the shock of metal sliding into your flesh, the searing sting as clamps bite down to keep you still. But pain is only the surface. The real terror is what follows. The slow reshaping of your body into something that no longer belongs to you. Each implant, each graft, is another step away from being human. And every step carries the chance of death. The surgeries are done in stages. They cannot remake you all at once, or your body would collapse under the strain. The first organs are small, almost simple, though there is nothing simple about a surgeon cutting open your chest to insert an alien piece of engineered tissue. The secondary heart, the osmodula, the biscopia, each one transforms you. Your bones lengthen, harden. Your muscles bulge beyond natural limits. The pain lingers for weeks, sometimes months. Some boys scream themselves hoarse in the infirmaries. Others grit their teeth and whisper prayers through clenched jaws. The chaplains say that suffering is proof of loyalty, that only through agony do you ascend. But you cannot help wondering, in the dark hours, whether this is really ascension or just mutilation with a holy name. The apothecaries are clinical, detached. They don't comfort you. To them, you're not a child under the knife. You're a vessel for the chapter's legacy. A chance to preserve the gene seed and keep the line unbroken. When you survive, they nod with satisfaction. When you fail, they record the loss and move on. Death during implantation is common. In some chapters, nearly half of recruits never leave the surgical chambers alive. And those are the merciful endings. Sometimes the organs reject you, warping your body into twisted, shuddering forms. Those recruits are quietly disposed of, their bodies burned, their names struck from record. But if you survive, the changes become undeniable. You feel the second heart begin to beat, thundering inside you, driving blood through your veins with power you never thought possible. Your skeleton becomes denser, your stature stretching upward until you tower above your old self. Your reflexes sharpen. Your senses bloom into clarity you never knew existed. You hear whispers at impossible distances, smell fear in the sweat of those around you, see details sharper than any mortal eye should. You are becoming something more, but with every gain you lose something too. Your humanity slips away like sand through open fingers. And yet, it isn't only the body that's reshaped. The mind must be broken and reforged as well. Indoctrination deepens as the implants take root. Hypno-indoctrination, they call it, a mixture of drugs, psychic conditioning, and relentless repetition. You sleep, but your dreams are not your own. Mantras echo in your mind, searing loyalty into your subconscious. You wake reciting prayers you don't remember learning. The Emperor's visage burns in your thoughts, always watching, always demanding. First, you fight it. Some part of you clings to who you once were, the boy with a name, with memories of a home, of a mother's face or a brother's laughter. But those memories blur with each session. The chaplains tell you this is mercy, that the Emperor burns away weakness, carving you into a vessel of purity. And soon enough, the struggle quiets. You begin to believe what you are told, not because you choose to, but because belief has been hammered into you with every waking and sleeping hour. Training grows harsher as your body strengthens. The weapons placed in your hands are no longer practice blades or crude loss guns but bolters, massive, brutal tools of war that no ordinary man could even lift. You learn to fire them until the recoil bruises your reinforced shoulder, until the roar of mass-reactive rounds is as familiar as your own heartbeat. You are drilled in formations, in tactics, in the art of killing with precision and without hesitation. To hesitate is to die. To falter is to fail your brothers. And failure is not tolerated. Punishment is swift and brutal. Sometimes it's physical, lashes, fasting, hours forced to kneel in prayer while your body shakes with exhaustion. Other times it's psychological, the chaplain stripping away what little pride you've built, reducing you to ashes before your peers. You learn quickly that pride is a sin. Individuality is weakness. The chapter is everything. You are nothing without it. There are moments, though fleeting moments, when the boy inside you surfaces. Perhaps during a rare quiet night when the dormitories fall silent and you glance at the faces of those around you. You see fear in their eyes, the same fear you carry. You wonder if they, too, dream of the homes they left behind, of names long forgotten. For a heartbeat, you remember that you were once like them, just a boy taken. But the moment never lasts. The drills sound, the chaplains march, and the boy you were is buried deeper. The most haunting part of recruitment is watching others fall. The boy who stood beside you in the first line of selection, the one who survived the same agonies you did. He might collapse mid-training, blood leaking from his pores as an organ fails inside him. Another might go mad from the hypno-indoctrination, screaming prayers until his throat tears, before he's dragged away by silent serfs. One by one, the faces around you vanish. And every time they do, you realize the truth. You are not special. You are only surviving because fate hasn't struck you down yet. Still, as the weeks turn into months, something changes. You find yourself moving faster, hitting harder, enduring punishments that would kill a normal man. You run for hours without stopping, your lungs burning with the strength of two hearts. You fire bolters until your muscles tremble, then fire again, and again until accuracy becomes instinct. The chaplains still tell you you are nothing, but in the silence of your mind, you know that you are no longer the boy who was taken. You are becoming something else, something terrible, something holy. And yet, through all of it, the question gnaws at you. Do you endure this for the emperor? For the chapter? Or simply because there is no other choice? The chaplains say that to question is heresy. But in the quiet, when the conditioning loosens its grip, you still wonder. This is what it's like in the middle stages of recruitment. Not glory, not honor. Just endless pain, fear, and the slow death of the self. Every victory feels hollow because you know it could be stripped away tomorrow with a single failed implant or a single slip in training. And so you march, fight, bleed, and obey, because the only path left is forward. By now, your body is unrecognizable. Not just to those who once knew you, but even to yourself. When you catch glimpses in polished metal or the still surface of a cistern, you see a face stretched and hardened, jaw square, eyes sharper, body looming like a predator. The implants have done their work. You are taller than most men, stronger than a dozen of them combined. But the strength doesn't come without cost. It gnaws at you. Your flesh aches constantly as it adapts. Hunger tears at you, a gnawing wolf in your stomach, because your body demands more fuel than it ever did before. Sleep comes in fits, haunted by hypno-conditioning that fills your dreams with fire and devotion. The apothecaries tell you this is natural. They say your body is finding balance. Yet you cannot shake the thought that you are being consumed from within, burned down and rebuilt with every passing hour. The rites of passage intensify. Every chapter has its traditions, and each one is brutal in its own way. Some force their recruits to hunt predators that could tear apart tanks, armed with nothing but blades. Others send you into the wilds with no food, no weapons, only the command to return or die. Still others turn the recruits against each other, pitting you in contests where victory means survival and defeat means a shallow grave. These aren't just trials of strength. They are rituals that bind you to the chapter's history. You aren't just becoming a warrior, you are being carved into the story of your legion, whether you will it or not. In those trials, camaraderie is forged, but it's a bitter kind. You learn to fight alongside the others, to trust that the boy on your left will not falter when the beast charges, that the one on your right will not break under pressure. Bonds form, but they are not the warm ties of brotherhood as mortals know it. They are desperate, sharpened by survival, tempered by the knowledge that any one of you might still fall tomorrow. You may share laughter in the barracks, but it is hollow laughter, fleeting, fragile. Still, it matters. Without it, you would be utterly alone in this crucible. As your body nears completion, the final implants come. The black carapace, the crown of the transformation. This is the moment when you truly stop being merely a candidate and step toward becoming an Astartes. The surgery is excruciating. The carapace is no organ but a layered sheath grafted beneath your skin, interfacing with your nervous system. It turns your body into a living plug, ready to link directly with the sacred power armor of the Adeptus Astartes. When it succeeds, you feel it instantly. A strange awareness of systems that are not yet connected, like phantom limbs waiting for activation. When it fails, there is no mercy. The body is discarded, the name forgotten, the record scrubbed clean. But if you survive this final step, the training changes. Suddenly, you are no longer drilled as a boy preparing to become something greater. You are treated as a neophyte, a brother in waiting. The chaplains speak to you not only of obedience but of honor, of glory in battle, of the sacred duty of the angels of death. They show you fragments of the chapter's history, its triumphs, its scars, its endless wars. You are taught not only how to kill but why you kill. And in that why, there is no compromise. You are told again and again, humanity is weak, beset on all sides. The Emperor, the immortal God of man, created you to be their shield, their sword, their executioner. Doubt is heresy. Pity is heresy. Mercy is heresy. It is here that the line between indoctrination and belief blurs. At first, you recite the prayers because you must, but repetition carves them into your bones. Soon you find them on your lips unbidden, whispered before sleep, muttered before drills. You start to believe, not because you chose to, but because there is nothing else left. You are not a boy. You are not even your own. You are the Emperor's body and soul. And yet, in quiet moments, the human beneath the armor stirs. Perhaps when you look out at the stars from the monastery walls, wondering if your family still lives beneath them. Perhaps when you hear the faintest echo of a laugh in your mind and can't remember if it was your own or a memory of someone you lost. These moments don't last, but they remind you that something of the old self still lingers, buried deep. Whether that is a blessing or a curse, you cannot say. The first time you don the armor, even if only for training, is unforgettable. It is not yet the full suit, not yet sanctified by decades of battle, but even the simplest training plate humbles you. You feel the weight of it crush down, then you feel it lift as the carapace links with the systems, as the servos respond to your nerve impulses. It is like growing a second skin, one of ceramite and adamantium. You walk and the armor walks with you. You strike, and it magnifies your strength to terrifying levels. You are no longer a man. You are becoming a weapon, living and breathing, honed to perfection. Combat drills grow ever more complex. You are tested against machines, against beasts, against one another in simulations that are often indistinguishable from real war. Live ammunition is used more often than not. Mistakes kill. The instructors do not flinch when a recruit falls to friendly fire or fails to parry in time. They simply mark the death and carry on. The lesson is brutal but clear. On the battlefield, hesitation is death, and the Emperor has no need of the dead. As months stretch into years, you forget the exact moment when you stopped being a boy. The transformation is gradual, relentless. One day, you realize you no longer remember your mother's face. Another, you realize you can't recall the name of the village you were taken from. Piece by piece, the past erodes, until all that remains is the chapter, the emperor, the mission. You tell yourself this is strength. You tell yourself this is purity. But in the deepest part of your mind, you sometimes wonder if this is simply emptiness, hollowed out and filled with the words of others. By now, those who remain beside you are not boys at all, but the beginnings of brothers. Together, you've survived the culling, the implants, the trials, the conditioning. Together, you've killed, bled, and endured. And though you are taught never to value yourself above the chapter, you cannot deny the bond you feel. It is not friendship, not as mortals know it. It is something deeper, forged in fire and death. You no longer think of them as strangers. They are the only ones who understand, the only ones who have seen what you've seen. And as you stand in the training fields, bolter in hand, power armor whispering at your nerves, chaplain's prayers thundering in your ears, you know the truth. You are nearly there. The long road of recruitment is almost at its end. Ahead lies battle. Ahead lies war. Ahead lies the moment when you will finally prove, once and for all, whether you are worthy to call yourself a space marine. 1000 The moment comes without warning. One day you are still a neophyte, still training in the shadows of giants. The next, you are summoned to the chaplain's chambers, where incense clouds the air and skull-masked visages glare down at you. The chaplain's voice is thunder as he announces your trial of fire. This is no longer training. This is war. Your recruitment has reached its final crucible. You will face battle and either rise as an Astartes or perish as a failed candidate. The assignment varies by chapter. Some cast their neophytes into the most dangerous battlefields, scattering them across war zones and waiting to see who claws their way back alive. Others send squads of neophytes together, demanding they prove not just their individual strength but their unity as brothers. In some chapters, the trial is ritualized, a sacred hunt for an ancient beast or a quest into a death world's heart. In others, it is simply baptism by fire, a live war zone, no protection, no second chances. You are handed your bolter, its weight reassuring, and you feel the armor lock into your flesh as the black carapace connects. For the first time, you are not merely training. You are fighting as a space marine fights with the full tools of death at your command. The chaplains and apothecaries do not wish you luck. They do not comfort you. They simply instruct, return victorious, or do not return at all. The drop pod slams into the surface of a war-torn world, and the doors explode outward. Smoke, fire, and the stink of death greet you. It is chaos. Xenos swarming across trenches, traitors bellowing oaths to dark gods, civilians screaming as they burn. The Imperium never lacks for enemies, and you have been cast into one of its endless conflicts. There is no easing in, no gradual introduction. You are expected to kill now and keep killing until the enemy breaks or you do. At first, the reality of war overwhelms you. Training drills cannot replicate the sheer madness of battle. The roar of bolter fire is deafening, the explosions shattering. Beasts you had only heard about in whispered legends come charging at you, their jaws snapping, their weapons dripping with blood. The fear rises like bile in your throat, threatening to choke you. But then instinct takes over. Months of training, endless conditioning, all the prayers and indoctrination, they surge to the surface. You fire and the bolter kicks against your shoulder. The target explodes into gore. You move with your squad, covering, advancing, striking. You are not a boy in armor anymore. You are death, and death moves with precision. But the trial is not only about killing. It is about endurance. Hours stretch into days. You fight without pause, without sleep, sustained only by your engineered body and the burning drive drilled into your soul. Hunger gnaws but never breaks you. Wounds sear but never stop you. You march through trenches filled with corpses, through ruins choked with smoke, through jungles where every shadow hides another threat. Every step is agony. Every breath is fire. And yet, you keep moving because to falter is to die. Not everyone makes it. Brothers you trained with fall one by one. Some are torn apart by Xeno's claws. Others are cut down by traitor blades. A few simply vanish in the chaos, their fates never known. You want to mourn them, but there is no time. The battle does not pause for grief. The chaplains told you long ago, the dead are already with the Emperor. Your duty is to the living, to the fight, to the Imperium. And so you swallow your sorrow, harden your heart, and keep going. The moment of clarity comes when you realize you are no longer afraid. The first hours were terror. The first days were agony. But now, as you stand amid the firestorm, bolter roaring, chainsword grinding, you feel only purpose. You see an enemy charge, and you cut him down without hesitation. You hear the screams of the dying, and they no longer shake you. You march through destruction, and you do not falter. You are not pretending anymore. You are what they made you, a weapon, an angel of death. When the battle finally ends, when the smoke clears and the last cries fade, you do not celebrate. There is no triumph here, only survival. Of the dozens who were cast into this crucible, only a handful remain. You are one of them. You stand bloodied, scarred, exhausted beyond mortal comprehension, but alive, and more than alive, victorious. The return to the monastery is quiet. There are no parades, no cheers. The chaplains greet you with solemn nods. The apothecaries record your survival. You are ushered into the sanctum, where relics of the chapters past loom above you, and there, at last, you are anointed. The gene seed within you is declared stable. The rites are performed, the words spoken. You kneel as a neophyte, and you rise as a battle brother of the Adeptus Astartes. It is a strange moment. For so long you dreamed of this. For so long you believed this was glory. And yet, as you look at your reflection in your polished armor, you see no boy, no man, no human at all. You see a figure of ceramite and steel, eyes glowing with a cold light, body reshaped into something otherworldly. You have gained everything the chapter promised. You have lost everything you once were. Still, the chaplains assure you this is salvation. You are now one of the Emperor's chosen. You will know no fear, no hesitation, no doubt. You will fight in 1,000 wars, see 1,000 worlds burn, and through it all you will carry the Imperium's light. To the Imperium's masses, you are a living god, an angel clad in armor, sent to deliver judgment. And perhaps that is enough. Perhaps the loss of the boy, the erasure of the self, is worth the role you now fill. What it's like to be recruited into the Space Marines. It is this, to be taken, broken, remade, tested, and finally forged in battle. It is to suffer until suffering becomes your language. It is to watch every weakness burned away until only duty remains. And in the end, it is to rise, no longer a man but a Space Marine, an immortal warrior in service to an eternal emperor. And yet, deep inside, a question lingers. When the battles are done, when the wars are endless, when your brothers fall one by one, will you even remember that you were once human at all? When the last rites of initiation are complete, you are not given rest. A Space Marine's life does not begin with peace, but with duty. No sooner are you anointed than the summons comes. The chapter has no time for celebration. Wars rage without end, and every brother, even the youngest, must take his place in the line. Your first deployment is not the great, sweeping crusade you once imagined. It is a small conflict on a forgotten world, the kind of war the Imperium wages by the million each year. To you, though, it is everything. You march with your new brothers, their armor scarred from decades of battle, their eyes cold and unreadable. They glance at you, the new blood, the freshly forged warrior, and you know their judgment is silent but sharp. They do not ask your past, for you no longer have one. They do not ask your name, for it was erased. You are brother now, nothing more, nothing less. The first time you fight beside them, you finally understand what it means to be Astartes. Alone you are formidable, but together you are unstoppable. Each movement, each shot, each strike flows with perfect synchronicity. Bolters roar in harmony, blades swing in unison, prayers thunder from vox grills like a single voice. In that moment you feel something deeper than camaraderie. You feel purpose crystallize into reality. You are not just a soldier. You are part of a living legend, a fragment of a story that stretches back 10,000 years. And yet the ghosts remain. In the silence between battles you sometimes remember. A face, a place, a fragment of laughter. The memories are faint now, like smoke in the wind, but they still cut. You wonder if this is the Emperor's design, that you retain just enough of the old self to feel the weight of what was lost. The chaplains would call that heresy. They would tell you such doubts are weakness. But weakness or not, the thought lingers, you were once human. You are not anymore. The wars never stop. The moment one campaign ends, another begins. You travel the stars in the belly of strike cruisers, waking to the roar of the war horn, donning your armor in sacred rites, and plunging once more into fire. Time loses meaning. Decades pass like seasons. Centuries blur like years. You do not age as mortals do. Your body is sustained by the gene seed, your mind reinforced by endless indoctrination. Worlds rise and fall around you, but you endure. Always enduring, always fighting. This is what it is like to be recruited into the Adeptus Astartes. There is no end. Recruitment is not just the beginning. It is the death of endings. From the day you are taken, there is only one path, forward into eternal war. You will never return to the life you had. You will never know peace, never know love, never know the simple joys mortals cling to. Your reward for survival is an existence of endless battle. And still, you would not turn back. Somewhere deep within you, beneath the layers of steel and scripture, you know why? Because humanity is fragile, beset on all sides. Without you, they would fall. Without the angels of death, the galaxy would already be lost. Your sacrifice, your transformation, your eternal war, it holds the line. And if that line breaks, there will be nothing left but the void. So you march, you fight, you bleed, you endure. You do not ask why, because the why was burned away long ago. You only ask where and when and against whom. For that is all that remains of the boy you once were. The boy is gone. The Marine endures. And in the quiet moments, when the war drums are silent, when the ship drifts between stars and the brothers rest in their alcoves, you look at the galaxy beyond and whisper a prayer. Not for yourself, not for the life you lost, but for those you defend, billions who will never know your name, billions who will never see your face, billions who will live only because you became something more than human. That is what it is like to be recruited into the Space Marines. Not honor, not glory, but sacrifice without end. To be reforged in fire, stripped of humanity, given only war in exchange for everything you once were. And to carry that burden forever, without hesitation, without rest, until the Emperor himself decrees otherwise. You are no longer you. You are a Space Marine, and that is enough.